please take out your science notebook. Sophia passed around your vocabulary. Go ahead and open the table of contents in your science spiral. Let's add this to the table of contents. This is called, thank you. Whoop. This is called lesson 1, matter. Vocabulary. And in my spiral, it's going to be on page 10. Remember, we do not put things on the back of this of the pages in this notebook. We only put things on the front. So once I have the table of contents done, I'm going to flip to page 10 and I'm going to glue it down. Okay, let's look at your vocabulary words real quick. In this lesson 1, there's only 3 vocabulary words. The first one is matter. What is matter, Audrey? Very good. Anything that takes up space and has mass. Is air matter? Yes. Yes, it takes up space. You can put it in a balloon and you can see that it's taking up space. All right, the next one is property. Everybody say property. Property. What is property, Dylan?
Something about matter that you can observe with one or more of your senses.
Very good. Properties are things that you can use one of your 5 senses to observe. Color, shape, texture, hardness. Number 3 is vary. This is V-A-R-Y. What does vary, V-A-R-Y, mean? Derek?
To change.
To change. All right, so those are the 3 main vocabulary words that we're going to be looking at in this lesson. So let's go ahead and take out our books. Take out your science book on page 42 in your science book, and you should have your highlighter out.
I can't find my highlighter.
Okay, get one from the bin or see if a neighbor has one you can borrow.
You can borrow mine.
Matter everywhere.
I heard yes.
Follow along with me as I read. Everything you can see, smell, or touch is matter. Matter is anything that takes up space and has mass. That was part of our vocabulary, so we're going to highlight that. What matter is, it's important that you remember it's anything that takes up space and has mass. That is also the answer to one of your questions on your study guide or on your listening guide. So go ahead and highlight it for now and you can go back later and write it in. The balloon and the basketball are both matter. Many things that you cannot see, smell, or touch are matter too. You cannot see the matter in the air. You cannot see the air in the balloon and basketball, but it is matter. So is air matter?
Yes.
Yes. All right, so just because you cannot see it, it's invisible, but it is there. You can feel air. When the wind blows, if it's cool outside, it'll be cool on your face. You can feel air as it's moving. It is matter. It takes up space. All right, second paragraph. Although you cannot grab air, you can still observe it has mass. A flat basketball has less mass than it will have when it is blown up with air. That is evidence that the blown up basketball has more matter than when it is flat. The air in the blown up basketball has mass and takes up space. All right, so we just answered in this paragraph, or these 2 paragraphs, we've answered questions 1 and 2 on your listening guide. go ahead now and fill those in. Let's do the reading check at the bottom of page 42. It says compare and contrast. Fill in the diagram to compare and contrast the balloon and the basketball. So looking at the balloon and the basketball, over here on our Venn diagram, we're going to tell how they're different. This is something that's just true about the balloon, just true about the basketball, true about both. Help us out. What should we start with, Conlon?
They both have air.
They both full of air. Okay. Zachary?
They're both matter.
Matter. Let's see. What do you have, Dylan?
They're both round.
They're both round.
But not all balloons can be round.
They can take different shapes, true, but these two are both round. Luke?
The balloon floats and the basketball is down because of gravity.
Okay, the balloon is hovering. You can tell in the picture that the balloon is hovering, whereas the basketball is actually on the ground. So the balloon can float and the basketball doesn't float. Why is that? Do we know why some balloons can float while others do not? If you were to blow up a balloon with your own air from your own lungs, is it going to float?
No.
No. Why do some balloons float? Mackenzie?
There's helium in it.
They have helium in it. What is helium? What is it? Mary Frances?
It's a type of air.
It's a special type of gas or a special type of air. It is a gas. And why does it float? Why does the helium make the balloon float? Deep science question. Derek?
Helium is a gas that makes things float, like say a balloon.
But why does it float? Science.
Because of helium.
Well, yes, but there's something special about helium. Dylan?
Helium is lighter than air.
It's lighter than air. So helium, and this isn't anything we're going to put on our diagram, but this is just something that you could know as third graders. It's helpful to know. Helium is a very light air. And because it is such a light air, it is less dense than the air around us. So the air around us is heavier and it sinks. And so that helium wants to float up to the top. That's why if you take a balloon outside, it's going to float up into the atmosphere because it's lighter than all of that air, and it's going to float up as high as it can until it pops or until it ends up coming back down.
Can it float?
Did you know that there is a gas that is heavier than our air?
What's that?
Oh.
Oh yeah.
Do you know what it's called?
Deep science question.
No. There's a gas that's really heavy that if you were to fill a balloon up with, it would sink faster than if you blew it up with your lungs. Since I don't have any, I'll just tell you. If you were to have 3 balloons and and I can't find a video for it, so I'm sorry. But if you were to blow up 3 balloons, if you blew up one with helium, one with your air, and one with sulfur hexafluoride, and you dropped them all, you held them all at the same level, and 3 of us had them, and we all dropped them on 3. The first one to hit the floor would be the sulfur hexafluoride because it's the heaviest. It would hit the floor really fast. The second one to hit the floor would, of course, be the one that you blew up with your lungs, and the helium balloon would go up. It would hit the ceiling. So it would float. So it is because of the density. But Back to our balloon and basketball because we kind of got a little off track with that. What are some ways that these two items are different besides the floating and not floating? Karis.
The basketball bounces and the balloon doesn't.
It would probably bounce better. I mean, you could bounce the balloon, but not very far. You're right. Bounces better. Doesn't bounce easily.
Is this a greater?
What else? Other ways they're different. Zayden?
Other ways they're different or the same.
Ways they're different.
The basketball is kind of more like harder, and the balloon isn't really that hard. It's kind of squishy. The balloon is kind of squishy.
Hard, and the balloon is squishy.
Yeah.
Which takes us to what the other thing you said, Zayden, which is that the balloon's going to
You could
pop easier than the basketball. We could go ahead and put that on here. Pops easily,
Plus,
and the basketball doesn't pop.
if you put too much air on the balloon, it's most likely going to pop.
Yes. It will. And if you put too much air in a basketball, you're also going to get a leak. It's going to split at the seams or somewhere. But it won't pop the same way that a balloon will. Okay, let's go on to properties of matter. Are we good on your Venn diagram? You need a second?
Yeah.
Okay. Looking at number 3 on your listening guide, it says reread the paragraph. This is for properties of matter, and we haven't read it yet, but I just want to preview what we're going to have to do. It says fill in the main idea and key details for the first paragraph. So they want, once we read properties of matter, we're going to be looking for the main idea and the two supporting details. So let's look at properties of matter. So we can fill in our study guide or our listening guide. Properties of matter. Follow along with me as I read. A property is something about matter that you can observe with one or more of your senses. Size, shape, and color are a few properties that an object can have. The properties of objects vary or are different. You can compare and contrast properties to learn more about an object. So let's go ahead and highlight what a property is. A property is something about matter that you could observe with one or more of your senses. Paragraph 2, compare the basketball with the tennis ball. The sound a tennis ball and a basketball make when they bounce off of a floor are different. This difference is because they have different properties, such as how hard they are and whether they are smooth or bumpy. So think about that. Think of listening to a basketball bounce on the floor and a tennis ball. They would make very different sounds, wouldn't they? Their size are different. Their texture is different. How hard they are is different. And so that makes the different sound. And that's because their properties are different.